Hari Om, chapter 18. What is Bhagwan trying to say in chapter 18? Actually, Bhagwan is trying to recap all the concepts and all the advice and all the methods that he has already told Arjun in all the other chapters. So now Bhagwan in Adhyay 18 is trying to recap and reinforce the same knowledge so that the learner, Arjun and all of us, will take it back as our take home, the final knowledge. And therefore this is a wrap up and a reinforcement of the old knowledge which has come from the previous chapters. So in the beginning of chapter 18, Bhagwan is trying to say, please recognize your swadharma. Swadharma meaning your swabhav. According to your swabhav, what is it that the kind of work that you are impelled towards, that is the nature of the work that you should adopt. Why? Because that will lead you to the highest shanti, integration in the mind, harmony, no conflict, because I love doing what I am doing. So he says, आप अपने स्वभाव के हिसाब से स्वधर्म को पहचानेंगे, then you will have no conflict in any work that you choose to do. So please choose wisely. Now, when he said choose wisely, naturally he said there are some people who are sattvic and rajasic and tamasic. We have already seen it. If we don't recognize it, then we fall in the pressure of doing somebody else's dharma, swadharma. That means, suppose I am extremely tamasic and I am loath to taking any responsibility. I am now pushed into a teaching job, suppose, which requires a high level of sattvikta, like a professor in a college. Maybe in that job I may not fit in, because I will not have that kind of self-discipline, swadhyay, going deeper into learning, and sensitivity to the learners. There's a lot of sattvikta needed in just this example. So that person of a tamasic mode may be extremely unhappy and a misfit and create a lot of disbalance even in the profession that he is chosen, and therefore society will not be balanced. Therefore Bhagwan had actually said that those who are of the sattvic kind, stick to Brahman dharma. Those who are of the rajasic kind, stick to Kshatriya and Vaishya dharma. Those who are tamasic kind, stick to Shudra dharma. The moment he said this, we found that down the ages, Krishna did not mean to divide society into watertight compartments. In any case, the swabhav doesn't come from father to son. This corruption of our society later on led to a lot of conflict in our society, which is still affecting our society today, 6,000 years down the line. But actually, what was the division meant for? That Bhagwan explains in this chapter. What was the division? What was in his mind? He wanted to create more harmony in society and in the mind of man. Society is made up of people, of human beings. If there is harmony in the mind of a single individual, there will be harmony in the total society. Therefore, that harmony which was meant to be created got contradicted. Why? Because of lack of learning of people, lack of trying to understand the scriptures and passing it on in a corrupt form. So, that is explained extensively in chapter 18 by Krishna. And after that, Bhagwan goes on to say, look, you also have to go back to meditation finally, because you are quiet, you are shant only when you are doing work that you love. That shanti that comes is now making you free for meditation. Now chapter 6, Bhagwan has already talked a lot about meditation. So he is only saying, coming round full circle to say, meditation is where you will find me. Me meaning Krishna. That highest principle of learning is where I will be. That highest principle of existence, not learning, is where I will be. You can find me only when you are quiet, when you are silent, when you are not disturbed. And therefore, this Varna system, Brahman, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, that Varna system was meant to create that quiet, that harmony. so that we can slip into meditation, and the last step would be total devotion. Now these are the 4 steps, Swadharma to meditation to devotion, that Bhagwan is trying to explain step by step in chapter 18. This is the total message of chapter 18. But having come to the 40th verse, let's see, Bhagwan has already talked up to verse number 40 about the gunas. The gunas are sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. Once we understand this, let's see how that will lead to, understanding of gunas will lead to harmony. Gunas by themselves will not lead us to harmony. Misunderstanding leads to disharmony. Once we have understood the gunas, then we recognize them in ourselves and see how that we can contribute to society through the understanding of what my guna is. So gunas they have understood, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, the one who is reflective and meditative and with self-control, sattvic, the one who is ambitious and contributes vigorously to society, kshatriya dharma, that is Arjun and most of us, that is rajasic, and tamasic, we are okay with our comfort level, following orders, somebody else give us the vision, give us the directions, give us the method, we will simply follow. We are simple folk, that is the Shudra Dharma. Now, having understood the gunas, let's see how it will convert. The same thing will convert into the Varna system of our society, which again has been misunderstood because of lack of learning. So, I keep emphasizing this point. Now, verse number 40, let's pick up the thought that Krishna has mentioned here. Na tadasti prithivyam va divi deveshu va punaha sattvam prakriti jair muktam yadebhih syat tribhir gunaihi. No one on this earth or in heaven or in any other existence is totally liberated. If you belong to Prakriti, Prakriti meaning, you know that, the Panchatattva belonging to that which is Nashwar. If anything in this world belongs to Prakriti, which is Nashwar, then it will have the guna of Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. That means Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic belongs to every human being. Yes, not only human being, every creature, everything. And last time we saw that that quality belongs to even our homes, the vibration of our offices, workplaces, the puja corners that we create, even our society. So if we are living in a street where there are lots of pubs and lots of eateries and lots of nightclubs, that street or that locality will have a different vibration, maybe a Rajasic, Tamasic one. If you live in a street where there are learning centers and colleges and temples and ashrams, okay, so that street, so even streets and localities, just like people, everything in Prakriti has a Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic quality. We saw that. That's exactly what Bhagwan is saying here. He's saying, Na tadasti prithivyam, ये धरती पर ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं है और कोई वस्तु और कोई being भी नहीं है जो इन तीनों गुणों से free है. It will have those 3 qualities. Okay, so what do we do with these 3 qualities? We simply recognize first of all that these qualities do not come, this classification of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas does not come from father to son. Of course not. My father may have been very ambitious and we may want to be a little more adhyatmic. It doesn't follow like that. These qualities come from the Antaha Karan. The Antaha Karan is the climate, the inner climate of every human being. And therefore, the Man and the Buddhi is where the gunas will lie, the texture of the gunas. Then what happens to these gunas? A quick recap, we already know what happens, that when we practice Sattva or Rajas or Tamas, whatever our guna is, then that becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit of studying or being too extroverted or being too lazy, whatever it is, that habit leaves a little fragrance. Vas means fragrance. Vasana is carried over as the same repeated vasana in the next life. And then if we repeat it over again, then the same actions are repeated. So we act out our gunas and then there is a reenactment of our gunas, making it stronger and stronger. Okay, so we have to break it somewhere. Only when we recognize that, hey, I don't have to be in Rajasic, I don't have to be in Tamasic. Bhagwan has already said in the earlier chapters, learn to climb to Sattvic. I must recognize it first. Because if I say that I am very, very ambitious, I want to be the principal of a school which is opening nearby, and I am going to make sure that there is strong discipline, and if there is no discipline among teachers and students, then I am a very strict militaristic disciplinarian, and I am going to create a lot of unhappiness. Why? I want the success of the school at any cost, at the cost of the happiness of the teachers and students. What is going on in my mind when I think like this? First, I have the ambition to go out into the world and do something, take up that position. And even at my age, when you're young, okay. And then you say, yes, then I have a certain status. Of course, people will respect you. If you're a director or a principal or a CEO, then I want that status. I want that wealth which comes with it. I want the man and samman which comes with it. What is happening in the mind? You're doing all the things in the world, people are respecting you, and you think that that is your goal. No, Krishna says that's not your goal. That is just your duty. Just do it and come out of it. The moment you do it out of ambition and greed, it becomes your Rajasic nature, which is acted and reenacted over and over, making you more Rajasic. So what is going on in the Antahkaran is more important than what is exhibited outside. But we are too much trained in our society to do things which are appreciated by the world, which give us more status and titles and ranks and positions and wealth, because that's what society says is your parameter of success. But somebody in our society forgot to tell us that may be success, but it is in the Rajasic realm, in the domain of Rajasic. So please, if we can tell our next generation that you can attain that, very good. Do your work perfectly in that domain, very good. But remember, Krishna has said there is one step up. We have to reach the Sattvikta where we say, I am not attached to my work and I will still do it. And with that detachment, I will complete it so that I can reclaim the silence and quietness of my own mind. If I am very ambitious, I cannot claim the quietness and silence of my mind. So there is always a choice, always a choice. And Krishna says to Arjun very clearly that we learn these lessons too late in life. Arjun, learn it right now, that it's not very important just to be Rajasic and successful in the worldly sense of success, because you know that there is one more step ahead, that is Sattvikta. And of course there is a beyond that also, which Bhagwan is, beyond Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. Why do we say beyond? Just a quick reminder, because that pure consciousness has no Sattvikta, Rajasikta or Tamasikta. That pure consciousness is Krishna and us, that's in us too. When you identify with the pure consciousness, it cannot have a guna. So that is called gunatit. Therefore you will find Bhagwan is referred in many places as Gunatit Bhagwan. But that quality is ours too. But I am not going into that realm right now. It's too high right now. Within Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, what is it that we can do so that we stick to the dharma that Krishna is trying to tell us? Okay. So the more we dwell in a particular thought of ambition or swadhyay or meditation or greed or wealth, whatever our thought, the more we dwell in it, the more we get the opportunity to achieve that. So the choice is ours. As I have said, there are many people who have been greedy all their lives, but when the opportunity comes, only then they express it as corruption, making fake vaccines or cheating people or contaminating food. There are lots of people out there in society. When they don't get an opportunity, we don't know whether there is greed in them, but it is the old vasana dwelling in them. So what we are saying is, Bhagwan says, first when you recognize it, let's see in verse 41 how you can exhaust your vasana, because it is acting and reenacting life after life. How can you exhaust it? Exhaust it meaning play it out. Play it out. Verse number 41. Brahmana kshatriya visham shudranam cha parantapa karmani pravibhaktani swabhava prabhavair gunaihi. Now he says, we are born, all of us, of course, with a certain swabhava during our birth, of course. And this present life is then what? The present life is nothing but one single page in the entire book of our existence. So there is a vast book, volumes and volumes, that is our life. This particular life, one single life that we are living right now, is but one page. Can you imagine? So in that vast perspective, then we know that on this page I can make one difference, so that there is a different climatic change in my antahakaran, in my successive lives. So that's why Bhagwan says, please understand the inner climate now. Brahmana kshatriya vishan shudranam cha parantapa. The scholars, people who are of a scholarly or creative mind, they are the people who are naturally in a naturally Brahman state. Now Bhagwan is, instead of using the word sattvic, he has used the word Brahmana quality. I am using this word very, very carefully because this has led to so much of bad blood and misunderstanding and even bloodshed in our society. Okay, for Satvikta only Bhagwan has used the word Brahmana. It doesn't mean that Brahman is the one who is born to a Brahman father or mother. No, there is no direct link in the blood lineage. A person who is of the Swabhav, who is of a philosophical bent of mind, there will be the teachers and professors and poets and writers and creators and even visionaries or religious leaders, let's say. Yes, they are of a Brahmanic mindset, let's call it. I won't call them Brahman because again that word has become very loaded in our society. Brahmanic mindset. What about Bhagwan said Kshatriya? Kshatriya is the one who are social activists. Those who say, I am going to get this information under right to information from the government and make sure that there is no illegal construction. This is what happened in Noida in Delhi the other day. There are some activists who found out through RTI, right to information, that look, these two towers which have been created are not, they're not valid, they're not legal. They have been created on land which was promised to be a garden. And now because of the activism of these people, those towers were actually demolished because that was wrong. Suppose there were no activists, so much of wrong would go on in society. So Kshatriyas are what we need. It's not that we need only philosophers and seekers and poets and Sant and Mahatma and Rishis. Not at all. Bhagwan is emphasizing that your society, every society needs people at every level. And there is no high and low. That high and low was a defect in understanding. So Kshatriyas are the leaders and activists and politicians and warriors and soldiers and people in high government posts who can make a change for dharma, so that adharma does not exist and people will always do some adharma according to their swabhav. Somebody has to be there to be strong enough to make the corrections. So Kshatriyas are needed. There is no high and low. Commercial employees, Bhagwan says, Kshatriya Visham Shudranam. So the Vaishya Dharma, we need entrepreneurs, we need business people, we need startup businesses, we need investors, we need business analysts, and all those investors and business people and factory owners and manufacturers. How can society exist without the Vaishya layer? And the layers are not high and low. We need the people to create commerce and wealth in society. It's only when wealth is created in society that wealth gets distributed so that there is a upliftment of the quality of life of everyone. If there are more and more people who are steeped in poverty and hunger and are destitute, which is happening in so many war-torn areas in the world today, and because also of climate change, the drastic climate change, etc. The climate change, let me remind you, is also a result of our greed. Because of the excessive consumerism and excessive consuming of the wealth of the resources of the earth, we have created a climate change. That change is now creating a disbalance such that some places there are excessive floods and droughts. Now, when there are excess, like Somalia at the moment is experiencing extreme drought, dryness, no food. United Nations has to supply food. At the same time, there are corners in Southeast Asia which at this time should be welcoming winter, but they are battling with floods. Now, in all these places, the whole idea is that when there is suffering, when we are looking at only satisfying our basic needs, my next meal, my car has to have petrol, the basic needs, I must have enough gas and electricity to heat my rooms in winter. This is happening in the northern hemisphere. My worry right now is heating of the rooms, having food on my plate, having peace in my society, no death. How can I think about God or anything that is higher? What is the ultimate truth? What is consciousness? Who am I? Mera swayam ka satya kya hai? What is the truth? Can I ask these questions? When I don't know that I cannot have enough petrol, I don't have enough money in Lebanon, I have put money in the bank and I don't know whether I can draw it in order to treat the grave illness in my family. The doctor's treatment is needed. The banks have gone insolvent in Lebanon. My worry in this entire universe, when our worry is on survival, I cannot find God. Therefore, please understand that commerce, the Vaishya Dharma, the third level, again I will not call it level, it's just bad habit, the third section of society being Vaishya Dharma, they are the wealth creators. They create wealth, they manufacture, they sell, they buy. That's when wealth gets distributed. Like in India, if there is wealth created at one level at the top, only then it percolates down, and then we have a lower middle class which is now aspiring to become a upper middle class, etc. And then those who were under poverty line, now they are becoming middle class, etc. We can see that movement. When you reach a certain level in your survival and comfort level, only then God or truth or search or satya has an appeal. Then you will say, okay, what about those mendicants who are walking barefoot like Kabir and Buddha who gives up the riches and Meera who is not bothered about her royal lineage? No, we are not talking of those who have already done a lot of spiritual work in their previous lives. These are exceptions, these Mahatmas. They are okay with poverty. In fact, they seek poverty, including Jesus Christ. He said the earth will be inherited by the poor. Yes, what he meant was that in poverty or in frugality or in austerity is where you will find God. When you are austere in your lifestyle, that's what he meant. It didn't mean that the poor people who are starving will find God. I don't think he meant that. Commercial, Vaishya Dharma, needed in society, wealth has to be created. For the common people, we are not of the class where we can embrace poverty and austerity and then find God. No, we need our basic survival needs and then we look at God. That's where we all are. That's where Arjuna is. What about Kshudranam Chaparantapa? He says laborers. If you did not have skilled laborers, semi-skilled laborers to lay the bricks of your house, how would the structure of your house stand? Will there be some philosopher, some scholar, some poet who will come and lay the bricks of the structure, the houses? No. So there are potters and there are masons and there are carpenters and there are semi-skilled people. There are clerks and there are peons in the offices who have to shuffle the files. All these, and the maids in our houses. We have people in India, we are so used to having people even to wash our cars. Unthinkable in the West. Yes, we have people who can even come and wipe our cars clean and pull out the mats and wash it. But we think that now we say Shudra, no. But the moment all these people don't come, one fine day, that as it happened in COVID, we say, oh my God, my life has become difficult. Why did you say life has become difficult? If they are dispensable to society, if Shudras require no respect, then why did our life become difficult? if the maid hasn't come, if the driver hasn't come, the car cleaner hasn't come, and if I called a carpenter, the window is shattered in the storm and he hasn't come, there's no electricity in the house, there's a power fuse, the electrician has no time. You see, our life gets difficult. And then we complain. But these Sudras are the ones who are supporting to keep our life on track. And therefore, the word Shudra, again it has become loaded because of the misunderstanding. It just simply means the fourth section. Without them, we cannot do, society cannot do, and the smooth functioning is required. Now, this was a very intelligent classification by our rishis, a very intelligent classification of our society, which was done in such a way that the fabric, the social fabric, and the economic fabric and the political fabric of the society remains harmonious, and therefore people prosper. And once they are happy, when you are happy, when you are satisfied, is when you look for Satya, for truth, for Krishna. We don't go looking for Krishna, for Satya, when we are already in a panic about our life, about our survival. So Bhagavan says, the rishis have made a very intelligent classification, and how will we all know कि मैं scholar बनूं, कि mason बनूं, कि electrician बनूं, कि poet बनूं, कि shall I go into business, or shall I become an activist and make sure that the slums in my society, around my society, the slum dwellers are taken care of. मैं क्या करूं? Shall I go into social? I don't know. So finding the right profession is always according to our swabhava. That is a direction which is given to us, which is giving us order to follow a certain profession. And therefore, when we find the right profession, it's as hard as finding the right life partner. Some Rishi has said, not Rishi, one of the Swamis said, finding the right profession to fit our right exact swabhava is like finding the right life partner. It's as tough as that, because sometimes we wander into the wrong profession, and therefore this scientific division which was made by the rishis gets lopsided. The decline in learning has led to a lot of discontent and mismanagement of this scientific division. Let's understand it. At least those of us, few of us, who are trying to understand the scriptures, at least let us hold the right knowledge about this scientific classification of our society, what was the purpose, and even now it functions. Because right now also you will find in one family there's one person who has gone into the armed forces, there's another person who is an environmental activist who's gone into, in our own families we'll find, and the third one is a poet or a singer or their parent, the father is a professor in some university, is a scholar, and the mother is a painter or something. What is all this? This is all swabhav. So you will say that yes, the father is of a Brahminic mindset. One of the sons who is in business is of a Vaishya mindset. The one who chose to go in the armed forces of a Kshatriya mindset like Arjun. We will talk of mindsets, and therefore they are happiest in their respective professions, and they are contributing their 100% and giving the highest quality of service in their respective professions, because they have chosen it according to their swabhava, swadharma. And therefore that society is well ordered, in harmony, integrated, without conflict. So that's how the society was meant to be created. Now, actual classification, we still do it. If you go to take up a job in a multinational, they will put us through a psychometric test. A psychometric test means your psychological makeup. Your antahakaran is being tested to see your vision, your creativity, your leadership skills, your understanding of the subject, your brilliance, your sense of teamwork, your sense of happiness and joy that you bring to others, your sense of acceptance and forgiveness. Pura psychometric test mein hai. Then they give you the certain position that you may have applied for, or they offer you another position. How? According to swabhava and swadharma. They are doing exactly the same thing. because then their corporate will run smoothly, because we will contribute the best according to our swabhav. The corporates are doing exactly the same thing. Of course, they are not using the word Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. They cannot, these are ancient terms which are misused today. But the scientific division psychologically continues to take place everywhere in the world right now. If I am a great visionary and I have a grand vision that 10 years hence this company should be taken to a certain position and it should contribute to the employment of 5,000 people in this locality and contribute. That vision is vast, like Tata's. That vision is for the nation building. That vision is for the social fabric, not just for my profit. Then I will say that that visionary person, although he is going into business, remains a Brahminic, of a Brahminic mind, like the Tatas. They said, yeah, this is business. Steel and petroleum and coal, whatever, right? But it is for nation building. So it's a grander vision. So business may be the same. It's your vision and contribution that makes it different. For example, like the three masons who are building the temple, you know the story very well. So one says, I'm just laying the bricks because my boss told me that I have to lay it in such a, I am only following orders. Shudra mindset. The Vaishya says, I have made a target for myself that in this month I am going to put up 100 pillars in this structure. 100 pillars is my target and I am going to race for it. Highly ambitious. So that I get a position of a head mason next time. I want to show my mettle. I want to show my worth. Very ambitious. That's why very hurried and very impatient. That's the quality of a Vaishya, that Rajasic quality. That's the second mason. Third mason says, yes, I am also laying the bricks, but I am building a temple. It's the vision inside that makes the difference. Now, so any system that becomes rigid and says, oh, a Brahmin son is a Brahmin, a Kshatriya son is a Kshatriya, and now there will be no intermarriage. Now that makes it even more complicated, because then the society, instead of becoming more harmonious and integrated as was the intention, becomes more dysfunctional. Exact opposite effect. When you don't understand this, the society becomes dysfunctional. Then you cannot marry into a Vaishya family. Now, why were intermarriages later on? The marriages also had a certain logic. If I get into a wedding contract with a person who is of a very, very Rajasic Vaishya Pravritti business, I may not get that opportunity later on to sit quietly and follow. Suppose I am of a Sattvic mind and I want to learn the high scriptures and I want to go away into my retreats and ashrams and learn. I may get less opportunities if I marry into a person of a Vaishya mindset. So I'll be happiest with a Brahmin mindset. Therefore, these intermarriages were meant to be to keep the people more within their own swabhav and swadharma. Anyway, everything, you know what has happened to our society. I won't go into that complexity at all. The Shri Krishna, we must remember, has merely mapped out. He has just given a map of the guna according to which our natural qualities come out, and those natural qualities lead us to be happiest in our naturally chosen professions. This is just a map given by Krishna, but of course it became complex. Now, taking the same theme forward, in the next few verses, Bhagavan just makes the same theme clear. Verse number 42. Shamo damastapa shaucham kshantirajavameva cha jnanam vijnanamastikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Now, according to Swadharma, so the one of a Brahminic quality of mind, naturally we have seen this many times when we were studying in the 14th chapter and so forth about the Sattvic guna. Brahminic quality of mind is the Sattvic quality of mind. So Bhagavan is merely repeating it, just a reinforcement to say, remember, a Brahminic, not a Brahminic family. Brahminic quality of mind will be Shama. Shamo, Damas, Tapa, Shaucham. We know all these qualities. Shama is one who has so much self-control that he will not allow the external world to infiltrate into one's mind too much. एक्सटर्नल वर्ल्ड है, हाँ ठीक है, और नॉट नेसेसरी टू ब्रिंग ऑल ऑफ इट इनसाइड माय अंतःकरण. देयर इज अ लाइन दैट पर्सन विल ड्रॉ एंड से बस ठीक है. एंड देयरफॉर ही विल नॉट बी चेजिंग too much of the external enjoyments and objects of the world. We know that. Self control, shama. Dama, control of the senses. That मुझे कुछ नया, the tongue will always say कुछ नया taste करा दो, the ear will always say कुछ नया सुना दो, कुछ नया music सुना दो, sight will always say अरे कुछ नया दर्शन करा दो, कुछ नए sights and sounds दिखा दो, and then we start traveling. That control, senses are not leading us, we have to lead the senses. So dama, tapa, all Bhagwan's words. Tapa, austerity. That means, tapa means a kind of austerity where we are able to say कि whatever is not essential, am I able to drop it? That means excessive sleep. तो excess sleep जो है, sleep तो जरूरी है, excess जो है, I can drop it. Food जरूरी है, थोड़ा जो excess हम लेते हैं वो हम drop कर दें. So dropping anything excess in our comfort, in our luxuries, in our food, in our sleep, in our friendships, in our extroverted enjoyment activities outside, जो भी थोड़ा excess है drop करते जाओ. That is a gentle definition of austerity, dama. We are not talking of extreme austerities of the kind that Buddha undertook or Jesus Christ undertook or Muhammad undertook. No, it's for the common man, for Arjun and for you and me. Okay, Shaucham, purity of mind, we have seen this also. There is no kapat, no cleverness, not trying to be more clever and trying to outsmart somebody else. No. So there is arjavam, seedhapan, saralta, and that is called Shaucham or cleanliness of the mind. Shantihi, forbearance. Jnana Vijnana Astikyam, Bhagavan says in the next line. Jnana Vijnana Astikyam, it is also the person who has belief in Jnana, that there is a higher truth somewhere. Yes, I have understood things of this earth, where to invest, where to have proper land and property and investments and job and retirement. सब कुछ मैंने समझ लिया है, finances, children, उनके jobs, promotions, health, आयुर्वेद, yoga, मैंने सब कुछ में बहुत समय लगा दिया है. But this person says, एक ज्ञान मुझसे कुछ छूटा है, वो there is one highest ज्ञान somewhere. I have to find it. वो ज्ञान में आस्था है, आस्तिक्यम, उसमें आस्था है. किसको? ब्राह्मणिक क्वालिटी ऑफ माइंड को. ज्ञान विज्ञान में बिलीफ इन द हायर नॉलेज एंड श्रद्धा, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. विदाउट दिस आस्तिक belief and Shraddha, we cannot go to a higher level. What is the nature of such a person? The Brahmanic quality. Of course, he is Shanta. We have seen it. Remember, 18th chapter is a wrap-up, is a reinforcement. Lest we forget to hold on to this important, to these pieces of knowledge about how we are led into this and that. So the behavior of a Brahmanic quality, Shant, and also Santushta. संतोष, फुलफिल्ड, कि अच्छा वो मुझे और मिलता है तो ठीक है, नहीं मिलता है तो भी ठीक है. एंड देयरफॉर प्रसन्न, और जो भी मेरे पास है, अरे वो बहुत ज्यादा है, चलो मैं किसी के बांट लूं. किताबें बहुत जमा हो गई हैं, चलो लाइब्रेरी में दे दो. समय बहुत मिल गया है लाइफ में, क्योंकि इतना काम किया, सब लोग अपने अपने घर चले गए. समय एंड मनी बोथ आर इक्वली इम्पोर्टेंट. दोनों हमारे पास अगर बहुत सारा बच गया, एंड ऑफ आवर लाइफ ये बच ही जाता है, क्योंकि हम बिकॉज वी हैव एक्यूमुलेटेड सो मच. समय बचा है, चलो कुछ सोशल वर्क कर ले, समय दे दें किसी बच्चों को, किसी आश्रम को, किसी संस्था को, बिकॉज दे नीड आवर टाइम. मनी बहुत ज्यादा बच गया है, चलो. सो दे आर दयालु, दे आर जेनरस, दे आर प्रसन्न चित्त, संतुष्ट, that is fulfilled, satisfied, not hankering for more. We have stopped hankering more for ourselves, but we still hanker for more for our children. कि अरे उनको और मिल जाए, उनको और. That's the same, it is the same. Hankering is the same. And then grandchildren, उनको ये promotion मिल जाए, उनको ये admission मिल जाए, उनको ये. Hankering is the same, although we have stopped it for ourselves. Right? So, what happens to the person, Brahmanic quality? How does he spend time? अब तो हमारे पास समय ही समय है, तो साधना, सेवा, स्वाध्याय, सत्संग, इसके अलावा और क्या बचा है? तो हमारी जो सोशल एक्टिविटीज है ना, उसको भी इसी के इर्द गिर्द डिजाइन कर लेते हैं. कैसे? क्योंकि whatever activities we do. Now we are social human beings. So we go out for social activities, but maybe not this time for gossip and for feasting and for eating, but still go out and form groups, online groups or offline groups, so that there is satsang happening, there is some swadhyay, some learning happening. So they turn social activities into swadhyay, seva and satsang. ऐसा कर लेते हैं. फिर what about the other qualities of the kshatriya? वो भी हमने पहले देखा है. Very quickly let's look at verse number 43. शौर्यं तेजो धृतिर् दाक्ष्यं युद्धे चाप्य पलायनं दानमीश्वर भावश्च क्षात्रं कर्म स्वभावजं. क्षत्रिय का स्वभाव जो होता है, it is marked by lot of risk taking, because they are bold people. Shaurya, bold people, and there is valor and strength and firmness, and also there is skill and dexterity in any field that they take. Now we are thinking, oh, risk taking and shaurya and bal and power belongs only to the soldiers and armed forces. No, you will find that in any field that we are, even if a person is of a social activist kind, because not, as we saw, not all the kshatriya dharma people becoming soldiers. They also take to activism, to making social change, to bringing about certain shift in society for the better. So they are the people who are shaurya, fearless. They are also charitable. Chapriyam palayanam. Apalayanam, very important word. Now apalayanam literally means not retreating from battle. Okay, so it applies to the soldier. But we are not soldiers. So what does it mean that I will not retreat from the battlefield? For me, it simply means that the work that I have undertaken, and it has to be meaningful work of maybe spreading knowledge or spreading happiness or bringing education to a certain section of society, or to making some change in my businesses. No, businesses belong to the Vaishya, but if these are social activists and they're trying to bring some change, whatever they are doing to bring about more dharma and equality in society, that's what a kshatriya does, to bring dharma back into society. Whole of Kurukshetra is a dharma yuddha. They do it in many ways, not just by fighting battles. So this social activism and social political activists will not retreat from their task. This is the meaning of apalayanam. Until they have completed it. Why? Will there be obstacles? There will be plenty of obstacles. There will be some people like corrupt policemen sometime who will slap a false case against them and send them to jail and say, oh, they're trying to bring us to book, is it? They're trying to show us the right path, is it? I will slap, I have power. I'm going to slap a false case against him and I will put him in jail. The powerful politician says, oh, he wants me to come clean, is it? I'll make sure he's transferred to a back of beyond place, so he can't become. Yes, there will be obstacles. You will get transferred, you will get cases slapped against you. Yes, these are the obstacles in every battle. Obstacles are not faced only by soldiers in the combat. Apalayanam, do not retreat. Kshatriya dharma, he is so fearless. He has such shaurya, tej, dhriti. He does not retreat until the task is completed. That's the meaning. Dhriti, we have already seen, a powerful will which is backing up the intentions. If my intention is wishy-washy, हाँ yes, मुझे कुछ करना चाहिए था इन लोगों के लिए, मैंने try किया था, लेकिन you see, there was no cooperation from the local people, मैंने छोड़ दिया. That is not dhriti. Everyone will not cooperate with us, and we have to push ahead, keep marching ahead. Kshatriya dharma is to march ahead, so it needs dhriti, and dhriti is that which backs up a right intention. Tej, Bhagavan has used the word tej. Whose qualities are being described? The Kshatriya mindset, not a Kshatriya family, not a Kshatriya son of a Kshatriya father, a Kshatriya mindset. He may be born in a fisherman's house, he may be born in a carpenter's house, like Jesus Christ was a son of a carpenter. So we'll say Jesus Christ was a Shudra. No, He had a grand vision for humanity. He wanted peace and harmony and brotherhood for humanity. The vision was of a grand scale, of a spiritual scale. So Jesus Christ may have been of a Brahminic mindset, but his father was a carpenter. I keep repeating this just in case we are slipping into the old ways of thinking. It happens due to habit. So Shaurya, Tej and Dhriti are of a Kshatriya mindset, not a Kshatriya family. Dakshyam, of course, that is skill. Skill in what? And giving attention. When are we skillful? When we are very alert in what we are doing and very attentive in what we are doing, giving a lot of attention, alertness, vigilance, then we become skillful. So Bhagwan uses the word Dakshyam. And Apalayanam we have seen. They do not retreat until the task is completed. And he has used a very beautiful word to describe a Kshatriya mindset. Danam. Danam means charitable. Acha, ye kaise aaya? You will find that political leaders who have power, strength, real power, not the false kind which they want to show off, they are always standing up to help someone or the other. They will stand up for the rights of somebody else. So if I know about right to education, RTE, which was passed as a bill in India, a very momentous movement for us educators in the year 2010, then I will make sure that all those children in my society, around my society, and in the shops in my locality, if I see children, my first thought would be, Arey, do you go to school? You have a fundamental right now to be in school. It's your fundamental right. So leaders have a natural tendency to stand up for the rights of others. This is called charitable attitude. Charity doesn't come only by handing out money now and then. We have to remember the deeper implications of some of these ancient words. Ishwar Bhav is another word used, which means that it doesn't mean that they have a bhav, they have a sense of who is Ishwar. No, Ishwar is the one who guides, who is a leader. So they have natural leadership, natural guides. They are dynamic enough to make natural guides. These are 8 qualities of a Kshatriya mindset. Are we always in a Kshatriya mode or a Brahminical mode or a Shudra mode? No, it also changes. Of course, we have a predominant mode. I'll explain this through the example of Gandhiji. Gandhiji was, because in prison he translated and he wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So in that sense, he was a philosopher, Brahminic mind. He was born in a Vaishya family, a business family. In that sense, his family gave him the skills and the attitude of running a business. He knew something about it. He was also a professional lawyer for some time. So he was out there in the battlefield of life as a lawyer, Kshatriya. And he was fighting the battle for our freedom, again Kshatriya. And also when he was in the ashram in South Africa and he said, no, you have to learn humility. What is your ego doing in this business of this world? Unless you destroy your ego, you cannot find God. So pick up the brushes and clean the toilets. You remember that story, right? And his wife was she was so distraught by it, and she said, why do I have to clean toilets because you think it's the right thing to do? And he said, no, it will destroy your ego when you know you can do the menial task. In this sense, he was a Shudra, you might say. You might roughly put it like this. So was he a Brahmin or a Kshatriya? While he was fighting a battle for freedom, was he a Kshatriya? Was he a Vaishya? Was he a Shudra? So somebody asked him, who are you really? Are you a philosopher or commentator of Bhagavad Gita, or are you a freedom fighter, or what? Or a social activist? He said, I am just a man in search of God. So in his mind, although he did so many things, fulfilled the functions of a Kshatriya and a Vaishya and in all those functions, in his mind, he was only of a Brahminical mind, saying, he didn't say God. He said, I am a human being in search of truth. That's all. So in his mind, he was, while doing all these functions, he had at the back of his mind, who am I? I'm searching for truth. So in all the tasks that I do, I will keep that as my main role, as my main goal. A human being in search of truth. Now it doesn't matter what task you do outside. Of course, the world is going to pass a lot of judgment on you. Oh, you're a successful CEO or a director, or the status symbolism. That symbolism of wealth and man and samman and status is an artificial one, which has been created by society, and it adds a lot of dambha. Dambha is arrogance in us, and therefore we become further and further away from truth or God. Therefore, don't listen to society, listen to the calling of your heart. What is the heart calling you? What is your true calling? Even if it is late, people have been known to change the track of their lives. Otherwise, how was it possible that a simple boy in Corsica, who was told, go and tend the cattle and go and take the cattle out for grazing, went on to become one of the greatest generals of Europe, Napoleon? In Corsica, he was told, just go and tend the cattle, not battle. So that is the calling of a general, the calling of a Kshatriya was so strong in Napoleon. He couldn't have been anything else in life except Napoleon. Although he was pushed into cattle rearing. Buddha, being pushed into becoming a prince, his father so desperate to see that he should be the next king. He is the prince with the highest luxuries. But the calling of the search after truth was so strong, so powerful. He could not resist it, and he had to pay a big price for it. Wife Yashoda and son Rahul giving up his family. We are not able to give up anything. We are not able to give up the next party. अरे मुझे पार्टी का न्यू ईयर का इनविटेशन है, चलो सत्संग में बाद में जाएंगे. We are not able to give up small things, and they are people whose calling is so powerful, they give up. Giving up means तप और त्याग. तप and त्याग के बिना कुछ नहीं मिलता. And that's why the mental temperament is what is ordering us कि क्या करना है. And therefore people have been known to change track midway or after retirement. They say चलो मैं change कर रहा हूँ track. So there's a person I know in my neighborhood who has been an administrator all his life, and now after retirement he says, I'm going to open up an organization which looks after the interests of senior citizens. That means senior citizens should not be neglected, especially of the lower rung, economic rung of society, because most of them get neglected by their families, and I'm going to do something seriously. He is starting a new inning in life. Starting a new inning from scratch is not easy. You need all those things which Bhagwan says, Shaurya, Tej, Dhriti, Daksham, that sense of valor, risk-taking, strength, firmness, Dhriti. And he's ready at the age of 62. Hats off. So the mental calling can be very strong, and therefore Bhagwan says, follow it, that will bring you the highest happiness. So verse number 44, Bhagwan goes on to say, what about the third rung? Again I should say third section, not rung. Krishi Goraksha Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam Paricharyatmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam. Vaishya और शूद्र का धर्म. Dharma is that which we follow according to our swabhav, swadharma. That is one of the definitions of swadharma. Mental temperament will determine it. What is the natural tendency of a Vaishya? Natural tendency of a Vaishya section is create wealth, start a business. And they will be the most skillful in that because their mind is already set in that direction. What about a crossover? If I try a crossover and tell my a son who is of a Vaishya pravritti mindset, and I tell him, okay, I'm opening an ashram and I want you to run that ashram. He will end up doing it if I force him, sorry to say that, but he will run the ashram like a trading center. So my ashram will be run like a trading center. So the crossover doesn't help. In the same way, if I tell a Brahminic set of mind कि look, you have to run the business, ये family business 4 generation से आ रहा है and you have to run it, there is no choice. आपको business में आना है, किसी न किसी तरह arm twisting करके उसको force कर दिया. What will happen to that business? He will not be able to make profit and he will run it like an ashram. So the crossover doesn't really help. People have to follow their swabhav, their mental temperament. So imagine trying to sit a Vaishya swabhav person. Vaishya, that is person who is raring to make profit and start business and create employment. Creating employment is also a great service to the society. If I start a business, it's not that, okay, you're greedy or making profit. No. There are 500 people in the locality who will be employed, and creating employment is a big service to the society. So try, if a person is of a Vaishya mindset, try to sit him down and say, all right, now you have to do meditation you have to get into a meditation center. That person will be quite restless, isn't it? Therefore, Bhagavan says, recognize and move. Finding the profession according to your mental temperament is as hard as finding a life partner according to our mental temperaments. So, because the person doing the work according to his temperament, in coherence with it, in congruence with the mental temperament, is going to be happy, contented, most fulfilled, because he is in his natural guna, living in the natural guna, right? And therefore, the next one he says, Shudrasyapi swabhavajam. Shudra ka swabhav is follow the instructions faithfully. Jo boss keh rahe hain, bas usko follow karo. We need that too. So if I have a driver who is trying to be very creative and I tell him that I need this job done, please drive up and get back, and he tries to get very creative and does 10 other tasks in between, I'm going to be delayed for my next meeting. I don't need a driver to be excessively creative or visionary. Just follow my instructions, right? And therefore things run smoothly in my business or my home. So these are people who are Shudra mindset. Shudra, do not let now that we are learning the scriptures, let the mind not run into the maligned version of that word, which is now become very, very loaded with a negative connotation. Now we know what Shudra means. It means a person who can be so faithful in the way he follows instructions that I can trust him completely to serve me dutifully. That's why we look for such maids and attendants, isn't it? Suppose I am holed up in the hospital. I need an attendant who will be, whom I can trust, who will do things faithfully and dutifully. And such a person may not have a very high ability or a high vision. That's okay. That's what we need. So society is scientifically divided. What is the Shudra person's dominant traits? Dominant traits will be, there's no great desire to search for some higher truth. But sometimes he is careless, but can be trained to follow instructions faithfully, dutifully, and to the last word. Simple. We need those people too. So now Bhagavan has explained what is the requirement in any society which is functioning smoothly and progressing and becoming a place where people have the chance to find the highest truth, where it is peaceful. For that, Bhagavan has already described the division into sections of Brahmana, their qualities, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now he is saying in the 45th verse, Sve Sve Karmanas, Sve Sve Karmanyabhiratah Samsiddhim Labate Naraha Swakarmaniratah Siddhim Yatha Vindati Tachunu. Bhagavan is saying, just follow Sve Sve, whatever is your the order that you are receiving from your guna, swabhava, follow that. Karmana bhiratah, devote your work in that direction. You will attain perfection. Bhagavan is saying, samsiddhim. Siddhim, you will attain perfection if you do that. Just as we talked about Napoleon and Buddha, and they were born in a different situation but chose their calling. So also Keats, who could have been sitting in some industrial manufacturing unit, but he sat in the corner and Keats wrote some of the most beautiful poetry. So follow your heart, otherwise you will not gain perfection. Bhagwan is promising some siddhim, that perfection will come to you. Swakarma niratah siddhim. Does it mean that if there are tasks which are given to us which we don't like and which are not according to us, suppose I really don't know how to handle accounts and I have to do it in order to keep things going at home. There are so many tasks we are not fit for, but we are not and we don't like. Does it mean we don't do them? No, we still do them. We perform the function required because it's the duty at that moment in time. But it is not our entire calling. It is not our entire profession. Same way as Gandhi. In his mind, he knew he was a man in search of truth. And he said, I don't want to be the next prime minister. He didn't even stand up for it. We call him the father of the nation. He fought tooth and nail from beginning to end. And yet, at the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps and India awakes to light and freedom, the famous speech of Nehruji. Nehruji is standing right. Where is Gandhi in that frame, in that photograph, in that moment? Mountbatten and Nehru, are they the only ones who fought? No. Gandhiji said, I have done my duty. I am not in the race for this Kshatriya position. He knew his calling. You may think he is the most deserving, but he said, I will retreat back into my true calling, a man in search of truth. He retreats back into his ashram and in trying to keep peace on the eastern border in Bangladesh and also in Amritsar on the western, just trying to keep peace and retreat into ashram. Kshatriya Dharma demanded that he should be our leader of a free nation. No. So Bhagwan says, do everything like Gandhi did, everything that was required. Cleaning toilets, fighting with the British. But my true calling, whatever our true calling, whatever, if it's business, then you go back to it with all your heart. Sve sve karmanya bhiratah samsiddhim labate naraha. You will attain perfection only where your heart is finally. So finally, to wrap up, what does it mean? Whenever we find something that is close to our guna in our heart, we revel in it and we excel in it. Once we revel in it, we excel in it too. And then, even if it is too late in life, we can switch to what is our true calling. When we follow what is our true calling and pursue it, then we evolve. We evolve when we become joyful. And in that perfection and joyfulness is where we are pushed into realizing the highest truth. Otherwise the mind is, ये मुझे नहीं करना है, बस इसमें मैं पड़ा हुआ हूँ, करना पड़ रहा है. Mind is in conflict and resistance and grudging and detesting something. But the moment the mind is in conflict and resistance and insistence कि मुझे ये नहीं चाहिए, mind will not be free. That freedom of mind comes only in joy, in anand, in prasannata. So find that prasannata, Bhagwan is saying, which is of a permanent kind, of course not in the small pleasures of the world, and you will find me. And therefore there is a whole book on this called Ikigai by Hector Garcia. Ikigai, all of you know about the book. I'm going to post the link. You must buy it. And it is a Japanese word. Iki means alive and gai means worth. Ikigai, what is it that makes you worth living? What is it that you want to do which makes life worth being alive for? Ikigai. Find your Ikigai. This book keeps saying, find your own Ikigai. What keeps you ticking? What makes you feel alive? That Ikigai is what Bhagwan is saying is sve sve karmanya bhiratah. It will give you your samsiddhim, your perfection. Every one of us has to find what is our swadharma, and then only we can go to the next level. What is that next level? That we can see tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.